Good evening, everybody. My name is Kirk Jackson. I'm the Chief of Police for the Marque Police Department. On Sunday, December 3rd, 2017, at 7 minutes after 10, the Marque Police Department received a 911 call from a resident in the 300 block of Rotama. The resident reported that a man known to her as a neighbor broke into her home and was in possession of a sword. The suspect threatened the victim with the sword by placing the sword in her face. The suspect then used furniture to barricade the resident in a room of her house. When the officers arrived, they found the victim barricaded in the room, and the officers helped the victim free herself from the room. After freeing the victim, the officers were told of the likely whereabouts of the suspect. The officers went across the street to a structure and found that the structure was open. Due to the ongoing threat to public safety that the suspect posed, officers attempted to effect an arrest of the suspect. A canine unit had been on the scene since the beginning of the call for service. The canine handler gave verbal warnings for the suspect to come out of the residence or out of the building. And if he refused to come out, the dog would be released. After repeated verbal warnings to come out of the building, the canine and handler made entry into the structure in an attempt to locate the suspect. The canine located the suspect in a room of the structure and attempted to remove the suspect. Upon seeing the canine and handler, the suspect produced a sword and attacked, attempting to strike the officer with the sword. The canine handler discharged his firearm at least once, striking the suspect. The suspect was declared deceased on scene by the Galveston County Medical Examiner's Office. The officer involved is identified as Officer Jose Santos. Officer Santos has been employed by the Marque Police Department since October of 2014 and has been a police officer since June of 2010. The suspect and the deceased in this has been identified as Gregory Ray Ham. He's a 62-year-old white male. The officer involved in the shooting, the officer involved shooting is being investigated by the Galveston County District Attorney's Office as well as the Galveston County Sheriff's Office. The Marque Police Department will also conduct an internal review of the shooting to ensure compliance with departmental policies. The officer involved did sustain minor injuries and was treated and released at a nearby hospital. The canine animal was also injured and was treated by a veterinarian. I want to thank all of the agencies in the area that came in and assisted us during this event. Galveston Police Department, Galveston County Sheriff's Office, Department of Public Safety, and Texas City Police Department. They were instrumental in helping us conduct the investigation as well as provide police assistance during this due to our units being tied up. I have Sheriff Henry Trocheset with me as well as Pastor James Daniels. So at this point, I would like I'll open it up to any questions that anyone has.
Chief, when you said that the officer and the canine were injured, where did those injuries come from? Was it the swinging of the sword or a scuffle? How'd they get injured?
They were injured. The officer was struck in the face by what we believe to be the sword. He did suffer minor injuries, but that will all come out in the investigation.
Chief, preliminarily, can you say if you believe this was a justified shooting?
I'm going to wait until the Sheriff's Office conducts the investigation before I make a comment on that.
Can you say if your officer has told you he felt his life was in danger?
I haven't spoken with the officer about the incident.
Has there ever been a officer-involved fatal shooting or officer-involved shooting within recent years within Marque PD?
No, not within recent years, no.
Is the suspect known in that area? Has there been previous problems with him?
Yes, we have had repeated calls there on that street on this person for about the past week. Yes.
Can you say what type of calls that you've responded to where he was involved?
Calls ranging from criminal mischief to burglary of a habitation.
He has previous arrests and convictions in there. What do those range from?
I don't have any information on the arrests that he has been charged with yet.
Do you believe Mr. Ham was in that house attempting to burglarize it, or what was his reason for being there?
That will be part of the investigation that comes out.
What's the status of the officer right now? Will he be on desk duty during this time? Or?
The officer is on, as with all situations like this, the officer is on administrative leave, pending the departmental policies as far as his being on leave until he can get the required counseling, and then pending the outcome of the investigation. Yes.
It would be in the internal investigation or the one done by the DAs and the sheriff's office?
Both.
Can you back up a little and give us some more detail on how this subject got inside that residence?
The only information that we have is the suspect forced his way into the residence. That's what we have right now.
Do we know if that was through a door, a window? Did he knock, ring the doorbell?
There was damage to the front door of the residence, and we believe that's how he made entry into it.
And then how were police notified?
We received a 911 call from the resident.
Did that come when she was barricaded in the other room?
Presumably.
So she was in there with her cell phone, presumably?
Presumably, yes, sir.
You say a sword. I mean, what type of sword are we talking?
It was reported to us by the caller that he had a sword. The officers ordered the person to drop the sword prior to the shooting. So as far as the type of sword, that's going to be revealed by the investigation the sheriff's office conducts. But the officers were told he had a sword, or the dispatcher was told by the caller that the person had a sword and that the sword was seen by the officers.
Can you describe it in any detail? Its
I cannot.
size?
I cannot.
Did the officer enter his home when he went over there to comprehend, to address?
It's unknown whether it was the person's home that he was in or if it was just an abandoned structure.
And where was that structure located?
It was also in the 800 block of Vertama.
Because the resident himself lives on that street as well, correct?
I'm sorry?
The suspect lived, or the man who was killed, lives on that street as well.
That's what we're being told.
Was that a particularly small area where this confrontation happened?
Yes, it's very small, very confined. Yes.
And so is that something that is important as you figure ultimately whether or not the shooting was justified?
Of course it will be. The environment does play into it, yes.
Sheriff, do you have anything you want to say about y'all's part in this investigation?
Thank you, Chief. It is an ongoing investigation, and the employee from the Lamarque Police Department did have a body cam activated, and we've got the footage of that. It's being reviewed, and like I said, it is an ongoing investigation. It's tragic, but
any indication y'all may release any portions of that body cam before the investigation is complete?
no, sir. We usually hold it all so we can have it for grand jury, and we want to continue to hold that until the grand jury has met and we're able to review it.
Just to be clear, has your officer said that he was charged by this particular individual, that he felt he was coming at him or made some threatening?
Like Chief, I have not talked with the officer myself, but what I'm being told by my investigators and reviewing of the footage, that the officer acted like he should.
Chief, you said the man was shot at least once. Any idea where he was shot?
I have not been notified, no.
Okay.
And the gentleman's family's been notified now. So,
Yes.
Are they from this area?
I'm being told no, that he's originally from out of state.
So it was only one gunshot, right, Chief?
I don't know for sure how many gunshots struck the suspect.
And Santos's rank again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Is it patrol officer?
Yes, patrol officer.
I apologize, a few of us arrived late.
Yes.
Problem.
Okay.
Could I ask you to kind of just give us the lay of the land here? What you're able to share about the shooting?
Okay, like I said, it was late last night, about 7 minutes after 10, the Lamarque Police Department received a call from the 800 block of Otama in reference to a person with a sword who broke into somebody's house. The person threatened the resident with the sword and then barricaded the resident inside one of her rooms using furniture in the house. The officers arrived on scene and were able to remove the reportee from her barricaded room, and then were told that the likely whereabouts of the suspect was in a structure across the street. Due to the ongoing threat that the suspect posed to the neighborhood, the officers did go over and intend to effect an arrest of him, found the structure that he was reported to be in to be opened up, and there was repeated verbal orders for the suspect to come out. A canine unit was on scene at the time, and the suspect was warned that the dog might be released if he didn't surrender. So after repeated warnings and no response, the canine handler and the canine unit went into the structure. The canine did end up finding the suspect inside of the structure, and when the suspect saw the officer and the canine handler and the canine unit, he attacked the officer with the sword charging at him, and the officer did fire his weapon and struck the suspect.
And was therefore the suspect and the burglary victim, or robbery victim, I suppose, they know each other then?
Yes, the victim indicated that she knew the identity of the suspect, that he was a neighbor.
Okay. And did they have some previous history, some ongoing issues?
Over the past week, there had been repeated calls for service over at in that area pertaining to this person's behavior.
From this woman, from the same
Yes.
victim?
Yes.
Okay.
And what were the nature of those calls for service?
Well, as I said, it was ranging from criminal mischief to burglary of a habitation.
And do you have the identity then of the man who was shot?
Yes, I'm sorry. His name is Gregory Ray Ham. He's 62 years old.
Approximate age of the victim of the burglary victim?
55.
Just double checking, I think we have it as 67. You're sure it's 62?
That's what I'm getting from my information. It may be 67. I'll verify that.
Okay. Just in FYI.
And on Officer Santos, he is the canine handler?
Yes, Officer Santos is the canine handler.
Is he also the officer who discharged the weapon?
Yes.
Okay.
Is the name of the officer, did we release his name?
Yes, his name is Officer Jose Santos.
How long was he in?
Officer Santos has been with the Lamarque Police Department since October of 2014, but he's been a police officer since June of 2010.
Chief, can you clarify? We've got some folks here asking, as you're talking on the social media, asking about the sequence of events. If the dog was dispatched first toward ultimately the person who was killed, did he get away from the dog, or did this just happen in such close encounters that he was then able to attack the officer as well?
It was very close quarters. The engagement was in a very tightly confined space, yes.
And is Mr. Ham was in his own home?
We do not know whether the structure was his home or if it was just an abandoned structure. It was a very dilapidated structure, and we don't know yet if that's where he resided.
Okay. And does Mr. Ham have any previous, I know he has complaints from the previous week, does he have any previous?
I don't have any information on his previous arrests.
Okay. Is there any question about his mental stability?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that. I don't have any information pertaining to that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Chief, thanks, Sheriff.
So, I'm sorry, Chief, does the officer, Officer Santos today, does he have any other previous officer-involved shootings?
No. Nope.
Before, can you give us your name and title?
Yeah, my name is Kirk, K-I-R-K. Last name is Jackson. I'm the Chief of Police for the Lamarque Police Department.
And Sheriff, do you mind?
Just for the record.
Just for the record.
Henry Trosset, I'll spell it Trochetset, and I'm the sheriff here in Galveston County.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give us the
I'm sorry,
physical
Sheriff,
location
in charge-
where the
department
shooting
in charge of
occurred.
this
I know
investigation?
Yeah,
The
the
sheriff's
general
office is in charge of the investigation, yes ma'am, working with the district attorney's office.
name?
Yes, I'm Pastor James E. Daniels. I'm the public relations person for the Mainland Ministerial Baptist Alliance here in Lamarque and Texas City.
And you're here today because?
Because of the fact that the community, the Texas City Lamarque community has been working with the Texas City PD and the Lamarque PD for some time now. And we thought that someone from the community should come and to show that we do support our police department, and we're here to make sure the transparency, which we know that they will get. But we want to make sure that the community knows that someone is making sure of the transparency end of this investigation. But we do have confidence in both of our chief of police, and we do.
All right. Sorry, one last one, sir.
Yes.
Is there any kind of relationship between the victim and the suspect, the woman and the man? Do you know?
The information that we have, they are neighbors. As far as any relationship between them, not that I know of, just that they are neighbors.
And are you aware of any kind of feud, maybe, or some sort of long-standing argument between
No,
the two of them?
not aware of any kind of feud like that, no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.